Hi, my name's Evan. I'm an author. I've been published in a couple different local newspapers and magazines, as well as self-published on several websites. Yet, I've never been paid anything close to a livable wage for any of my work. I always saw authors as people who would become rich and famous if people liked their books. Icons like J.K. Rowling of Harry Potter fame, Michael Buckley of the Sisters Grimm novels, and Ernest Cline, who wrote my favorite book, Ready Player One. I thought that if I worked really hard, I could make lots of money, just like them. So here's the artist's interpretation of realizing how untrue that was. Getting people to agree to pay me at all for my work was hard enough. Getting a fair wage is nearly impossible. Usually, I get paid $6 for every hour of work I do, and people think that that's reasonable. Most people who commission me, pay me to write custom works, use the excuse of, I could do it myself, or tell me that I'll get really great exposure for writing their work. The point I usually make in return is, if it's so easy for you to do yourself, why bother asking me? The work I do as an author is seen as though it's everyone's right to access rather than a privilege. It's not seen as real work, so obviously, there shouldn't be any monetary gain for the people who do it. I publish works for free on the internet, and often leave a link to a donation site where people can leave small amounts of money. A digital tip jar for anyone who wants to support me in my works. Yet I've been left hate mail for daring to ask for a little extra cash to keep me afloat so I can keep my works free for them. And it's not just small authors like me who've come across this problem. Authors like Maggie Stiefvater, who wrote the Raven Cycle trilogy, and Nora Skavik, who wrote the Foxhole Court trilogy, have both spoken out about people not paying for their works. There have even been cancellations for prints of both of those series that have been canceled because of a lack of popularity. Fans pirate the book, and it actively harms the book and the author, as well as the fans missing out on cool things. Even big-name authors suffer from things like book piracy as well, which is just as big of a deal as movie or television piracy. People will upload copies of ebooks or print out other copies of books in physical format just to be able to access them for free, and this harms authors a lot. It's a serious problem. In a world where most writers have to work an extra job as well as do their own writing, writers often will undervalue their work just to get people to pay them. It's hard to get people to pay you to write what they want, let alone to write what you want. Writing is a job like any other. It takes time and it takes effort. It's not something that can easily be done at the last minute. You have to write, edit, write again, adjusting all the while for whatever your client wants. It's a real job and a time-consuming one. It can take anywhere from a few hours to a month for me to finish a commission, and some authors take years to finish books. Just look at George R.R. Martin, how long it's taking him to finish Game of Thrones. In Stacey Waite's Queer Literacy Survival Guide, she says that she teaches her students to see what seems unseeable, to read what seems illegible, and to say what seems unsayable. In a notion that takes effort and awareness to see the world as it truly is. This resonated with this particular issue for me because, in short, authors often become unseeable behind their works. We are lost behind the pictures we paint with our words, just blank narrators to produce stories for the pleasure of others. In demanding payment for our work, authors are seen as saying the unsayable. It's breaking an unspoken taboo for an artist to ask for money, because aren't artists supposed to just create for the sake of creating? Ideally, yeah. I would love to create just because I want to, but I have a college tuition to pay and I need to be able to afford basic necessities for myself. And to be able to do that, I need income. And I'd much rather write for money than work at a 7-Eleven, but if you're not willing to pay me, you're not giving me that choice. By taking that choice away from me, you're hurting us both. I don't get to create works that I love or do what I'm passionate about, and you don't get to enjoy the works I produce. It's a lose-lose situation. I love writing with all of my heart, and I'd love to be able to work for free. I know how hard it can be for others to support artists when they can barely afford to support themselves. But writing is a real job, and authors deserve to be paid for their work. Whether it's a freelancer trying to pay for their college tuition or the next J.K. Rowling, you should pay them what they deserve. And no, exposure is not real payment.